Hello there, I'm Josephine and I'm the Good Enough Mum, and I'm back to give a little talk about helping your child with their personal statement. So with university applications, the personal statement is probably one of the things that people worry about the most, because the personal statement is really about you selling yourself to the university of your choice, and that can feel pretty daunting. And so as parents, we can rather be worried about this. And so I thought I'd do a few hints and tips to help you help your child get it to the best that they can do. So I think the first thing to remember is that the universities are looking to recruit students. Although some of the universities have very popular courses and they're quite competitive, there's also lots of universities where the main aspect is to recruit people to their course. And even with the competitive ones, all they're doing is they're looking for the candidates who will be a good fit and who show enthusiasm and commitment to that particular course of study. And so that's what you're trying to demonstrate through the personal statement, that this is a person who really is interested in the subject, interested enough to want to study it for 3 years. And so if you go back to my original little video on choosing a course, there were lots of little pointers there about what to think of, and hopefully that's helped your child to know a little bit more about why they're applying for their particular course. And it might be a good idea at this point of writing the personal statement to go back to some of those thoughts so that they can show to the university that they really do have a desire and a commitment to this particular course. It's just worth noting that with the personal statement, obviously you can apply for up to 5 universities, and the personal statement is read by each of the universities, but the universities don't know where else the individual has applied to. So it's quite helpful not to mention any particular university by name, and it is quite acceptable if you're applying for 2 or 3 quite different courses to perhaps address a paragraph to each of the subjects in terms of, say you were applying for history and then you were applying for philosophy, you'd want to do a subject specific paragraph on history and a subject specific paragraph on philosophy, for example, and that's absolutely fine. But as I say, and I can't emphasise this enough, the most important thing you want to do is show that you're suited to the course. And this is both through showing your interest and your commitment and demonstrating that through the personal statement. Now at this point, I know as a mum, I was quite worried because, particularly for me, my children are quite introverted, and apart from one of them, they didn't really do a lot of extracurricular activities. And I was quite worried about this. They hadn't had a job, they didn't really do very much outside of the house. They had plenty of their own interests, but these were sort of quite solitary activities. And I did worry about whether or not that meant that they'd be good enough for university. But if they're choosing the course that is of interest to them, then I think what was demonstrated to me, and hopefully what will be demonstrated to you too, is that they've already got the interest in the subject, and they can demonstrate this through what they've done, even if it seems that they've done nothing but sit behind their computer for the last 5 or 6 years, which was the case with my children. But it's amazing when you start thinking about the things that they've done, how often these things do actually measure up to what the university is looking for. So to get an idea as to how to write the personal statement, it's quite a good idea to look at the university's course specifications. So not only will they tell you what sort of grades they're looking for and the types of subjects, but quite a lot of the universities also tell you the type of candidate they're looking for in terms of their personal qualities and skills that they'd like them to demonstrate. And it's always worth remembering that sometimes courses call for particular skills. So say to become someone who's working in IT, you need to be able to demonstrate that you've got teamwork capabilities. But sometimes If they haven't shown a huge aptitude for that, don't forget that the university will be helping them develop those skills anyway. But it can be quite a head-scratching moment when you think to yourself, so the university is asking for team building skills, and what has my child ever done where they've worked in a team? But there will be things that they've done. They maybe worked on projects at school. They've perhaps schools got them to volunteer for something. The sixth forms are usually quite good at getting their candidates to do some volunteering and run things for them. So, you know, have a look at that. Also have a look at what they've done with their friends, and quite often they will have participated in activities where perhaps they've been working as a member of a team. Even, for example, running a game, like my oldest was into computer science and ran Dungeons and Dragons games, which may to me have sounded somewhat esoteric, but to the course admissions tutor that was absolutely fine, because a lot of computer scientists are interested in Dungeons and Dragons, and also because that particular student had actually organised the Dungeons and Dragons game, they sort of came across quite well in terms of leadership and team skills. So it's surprising what you can find to talk about in the personal statement. So have a look at what the university is looking for, and it's worth, when you're thinking about all the things that your child has done, don't just list them. So if they've, say, done the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award, you don't just want to say that they've achieved the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award. It's worth thinking about what the Gold Duke of Edinburgh Award has actually given them. So that would be things like working in a team, the resilience through the expeditions, being able to carry on even when conditions are tough going, commitment to volunteering, and the sort of sympathetic response that they might have to the people who they're helping when they're volunteering. So all these attributes of the particular activities that they're doing, you could use those when you're writing the personal statement. I say you, I mean obviously your child would be writing it. And so think of sort of about what personal attributes the particular activities have helped your child to develop. Help them to think about that rather than just listing what they've done. List in what way it's helped them to develop as a character, as a person, and that will make the personal statement quite interesting to read. And the other sort of thing that I found quite helpful, and perhaps you will too, is I had a look online at some of the personal statements that you can find. I found quite a few on a website called The Student Room. And when we had a read of these, it was possible to very quickly identify the similarities in each of the personal statements. And it's worth sort of thinking to yourself, if everybody else is writing a personal statement like this, what must be the effect on the admissions tutor who's reading them? And you might not want to start your personal statement with the same sentence that everybody else uses. So for example, with my students' particular computer science application, every single personal statement that we looked at started with the phrase, "I've been interested in computers since a very young age." And so my student decided to start her personal statement completely differently. And in fact, when she went for interview, they said to her, yours was a really interesting personal statement, because she'd thought outside the standard way of doing a personal statement. So it's worth just having a look online as much as anything to see what pitfalls that you'd actually like to avoid. If there's anything else you'd like to know about personal statements, please feel free to contact me. You can contact me via my page, which is The Good Enough Mum, and there's a facility to message me, and I'd be very happy to hear from you. I'm going to come back and do another couple of little short videos, one on having an interview and how to prepare for an interview and what to expect. And then the last one, I'm just going to touch very quickly on the subject of student loans. So I hope that video has been helpful. If you'd like to have a look at any of the videos, they're all available on my page, which is The Good Enough Mum. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.